Welcome to Lip Service for Contractors. Here you'll learn what moves the needle in your business. With your hosts, Brigham, the deep thinker, Josh, the $100 million contractor, Zach, the confused millennial, Laura, the foreigner. Lip service. It's not about dictatorship. It's about leadership. It's not about duplication. It's about innovation. It's not about stuff. It's about your people. Strap in and get ready for some lip service.
And we are back with another episode of Lip Service for Contractors. It's a funny thing. I was sitting down with my family, my extended family over the weekend. They all came over and we were having a great time. And I was laughing and giggling at my sister-in-law who had my sister attend her labor. I mean, she's having a kid. I know that we're kind of family in a way, and yet she's there in the room. I just thought it was weird. And then I started thinking, maybe it's weird because she's my sister. I mean, I wouldn't have her in the room, but I'm just saying she is a nurse. And so what's interesting about this benefit of having a family member that's a nurse is that they can go in, take a look at the chart, look at all the stats, see what's done, what needs to be done. Let me give you a quick example of that. They've got this really cool tool. It's called a pulse ox. And you take that little pulse ox and you put it right on the finger there. And what it does is it regulates the flow of blood. In fact, it even checks the amount of oxygen that's in each red blood cell. It's pretty incredible stuff. But that's just one of the many things that they are constantly measuring and tracking to make sure that the baby's health is okay and fantastic, and that the mom is doing okay as well. And what a crazy great idea, after thinking about it for a while, to have your sister who is a nurse come in and take a look at all those things on a regular basis to make sure everybody's okay. Your company is a living, breathing thing. It's something that grows if you take great care of it. But you've got to have measurements in place. You've got to be tracking those measurements. In fact, it would probably benefit you to have somebody that can do that very, very well. And we have that someone with us today. And we'll get into it in 60 seconds.
Chances are you love what you're hearing on Lip Service for Contractors. And if you want to go deeper, have an actionable playbook, or just want to learn from some of the most successful and profitable contractors in the industry, check out Clover Marketing from Josh and Laura. They give away free, amazing information, tools, SOPs, scripts, and processes that help their family business grow to over 140 million. And those same tools have helped other contractors in the industry blow up their business and grow an average of 20% every single year. Check out growwithclover.com/free gifts. They update the free gifts section all the time, so make sure you keep coming back.
Power Selling Pros is the customer service coaching company for contractors. Their one-on-one coaching for CSRs helps contractors book at least 85% of their calls and wow more customers. And their group training for technicians helps you create a better buying experience in the home and close more sales. Visit powersellingpros.com to learn more about how you can make more money with their coaching programs.
And we are back with Lip Service for Contractors. Guys, let's jump right into it. Measuring and stats inside your business. And of course, that person I was referring to is crazy idea. Josh, the one and the only Josh Kelly. So take it away, you guys.
Yeah, I'm. If anybody's ever worked with me or done stuff with me, I'm a numbers guy, and I could drive people crazy. By the way, if anybody ever watched,
Josh is the nurse, guys. He is the nurse.
Well, I want to draw.
I bet the doctor loves to know.
If anybody ever looks at this video, every time Brigham said nurse, he put air quotes around nurse. I don't know what that means. The nurse, my sister, right? Yeah, she's a nurse, man. She could be both your sister and a nurse, right?
She's like you, know?
A nurse.
Kind of a nurse.
Yeah.
As long as I get the family discount.
There you go. So I think realistically, reporting and accountability, that's what we're talking about today. It's one of the, I don't know if it's overlooked because everyone knows they should do it, but underutilized and underperformed side of any business. And the truth is, if you have poor reporting and accountability, I don't care who you are. I don't care how amazing your team is. I don't care how great a leader you are. eventually that's going to catch up to you. It's just a matter of time. If you're running an amazing, successful business and you lack reporting, there will be a day where you have a reckoning, and I hope it's a long time from now, and where you could have the opportunity to put some reporting in between. But you cannot track what you don't measure. You cannot improve what you don't track, right? So let's go into reporting and accountability and just kind of talk about what everyone should be reporting on and how you hold people accountable. So I'll kick it off. So who here, like I know Laura, Brigham, do you run a DP report for your business?
Great question. Why don't you tell the audience what a DP report is?
It's a daily progress report. It's a revenue report every single day.
Gosh, that would be really good to have.
I was thinking like that was a good way of getting out of it. Josh, what is a DP report? Tell us what a DP report is. Well, Brigham, touch on that. People grow their businesses different ways. You have said that you focus on the people and the numbers take care of themselves. But imagine if you could have both working simultaneously, because yes, you take care of the people incredibly, which is why Power Selling Pros is done so incredibly. And I think when you combine that with really tracking and looking after the numbers, when you know how, and you have the correct reports, Genie Mac, what can happen to a business is just like they can blow up pretty quick.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Daily progress report, a DP report is what I call it. But lots of people call it different things. But a DP report is one of the simplest, most effective ways to do reporting, right? So reporting in general, and we'll kind of go through the concept of reporting. And Laura, pull up the one sheets just so we could reference and send it to the guys. We have some run sheets on what you should pull reporting on for each department and kind of what good reporting looks like. And we'll share that with everybody. If you just email Laura, we'll send that out, but we'll send it in the chat function for everybody here. But a DP report is one of the simplest, most basic reports, and it's incredibly powerful. Here's what most companies do. Some companies wait till the end of the year to see how much revenue they did. That's clearly a big mistake, right? You can't make adjustments. You can't fix. That's a huge, huge no-no. Most companies don't do that. Most companies wait till the end of the month, though. They either get a P&L that they either know how to read or don't know how to read. Everybody should have a P&L. We're not going to cover basic reporting like this. Everybody should have a P&L, know how to read a P&L. We can walk you through that if we feel a need on this. But the problem with a P&L is it's not live. You're generally, if you're trying to get the August P&L report, you're seeing it September 15th or September 10th or September 5th if you have a really solid accounting team, right? So you're a month behind. What a DP report, it's a very simple report where you break down every single department and you break down the goal that you want to cover for the entire month, which, by the way, works into your yearly goal, right? So you've decided, hey, in January, I need to do this much. In February, I need to do this much. March, and it scales up on your busy season, right? And scales down during the slow season, so it's not consistent. And then each month you have to decide, now if I'm going to do 10 million in June, I know a certain percentage has to come from install. In our business, it's between 60 and 80%, right? If you're an HVAC company only. So 60 to 80%, I need to figure out how to get that. And I'm going to create a goal based off that. I'm going to create a goal off of service. I'm going to create a goal off of plumbing, right? So I'm breaking down expectations for each one. And then here's where the magic happens. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to break it down by day. So for easy math, let's say it's $100,000 you're doing in a month, which everyone should set higher goals than that. But for easy math, we're going to say 100,000. And for that 100,000, 60% of it's coming from install and 40% coming from service. You would make this decision based off of your historical data, what percentages and what, right? So you need 60,000 for install and you need 40,000 for service. So based like that math, you got 22 working days approximately in a month. You're going to do 3,000 a day in install. That's it. Pretty simple, right? Now, if you go 3 days and you're only averaging $1,000 in install, what are you going to do? You're going to make an adjustment, right? You have to start paying attention to it. So many people wait until it's too late to make an adjustment. You can't wait till day 25 of the month and expect to still hit that number, right? So a DP report essentially is a daily breakdown. How much revenue should I be getting and how much revenue am I getting? And creating it in a small enough way on a daily basis where I could actually attack it, adjust it, make a change before it's too late. A good example of this is like to take it out of the business, right? If you were playing basketball and you decide you're going to play a basketball game and you're going to do things differently, right? And you decide, I'm not going to keep score anymore. I'm just going to wait till the end of the game and I'm going to tally the score at the end of the game. Do you think you would play that game as well? Of course not. You would make changes as you go, right? Like you can't wait till the end of the game. You can't go to the end of the quarter. It has to be live. In our business, it's very difficult to be live. It's not difficult to be one day behind. So the DP report is taking that information so you can make quick active adjustments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, based on what's going on throughout the day. When you say adjustments, though, you're not necessarily talking about. Let's just specifically go into some examples of what those adjustments might be. In addition to,
so if we're a below goal, maybe we'd say, okay, well, we're not gonna getting. What it's gonna do is as an indicator. DP report's not an overall like step by step every piece of your business. In fact, no report should do that. What it does is causes you to do a deep dive, right? So if my revenue is not in for a day or 2 days or 3 days, especially, right? I'm going to start looking into why is it not in? Is it because I don't have enough calls? If I don't have enough calls, I know how to pull levers to get more calls, right? I could send out a direct mail piece. I could up my PPC budget. I could start telemarketing out. There's certain things I could take instantaneous action to bring in more calls. If I'm getting plenty of calls, but I'm not getting the revenue, I have instantaneous things I could be doing that, right? I could be calling a code red on install, making sure I close out a higher percentage. I could be talking to the guy. I could run an accessory program. I could run a special for both the customers and for my techs with an added incentive, right? So if the revenue's not high enough, the call volume's high enough, I can make quick adjustments on this. The key is I can't make that revenue up 25th day of the month. Oh, crap, I'm $4 million behind the goal. I can't make up $4 million in 5 days. You know what I mean? It's just not realistic. If you're on the 100,000, you know, if you're 15,000 and you only do 100,000 an entire month, that 15,000 becomes a gigantic panic and difficulty when there's no time left.
Go ahead. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I've learned from watching contractors is those back to like the basic, those who don't watch their numbers and then they maybe look at them once in a while. Those who are closest to the numbers can have the greater influence on those numbers. And it's something I recognized. And then I got into a conversation with Paul Kelly, and I asked him, I was like, how often does he watch his numbers? Like several times a day, like many, many times a day. He not just does his CSRs watch their numbers there's a live board they're consistently watching, but he himself looks at his numbers several times a day, because then to Josh's point, they can pull the levers. But I just thought that was a powerful quote. The closer you are to the numbers, the easier you can influence them. And it's just knowledge in a bloody sentence there. I just think it's awesome. Yeah.
I think a key to that too is how often you pull and how often you look at the numbers. And by the way, you have to look at them. So many contractors, especially, like their accounting department sends you this report, but then you never open it. Mm-hmm. That's the same as just never getting a report, right? But how often you look at the numbers and how often you pull them is directly related to how important it is. A review report, everybody knows reviews are important, but it's not something you need to pull every day, because you can't pull everything every day and make it actionable, right? It has to be actionable. So revenue is very important in our industry. It's important in every industry. Imagine a pie shop that never, looks at the cash register until the end of the month. That would be insane. We can't do that in our industry, and people do it all the time. Worse is they don't even look at a P&L. They look at their bank account. Hey, am I up or am I down? that's not a safe way to run your business by any means.
Incredible stuff. I'd like to get a little bit more clarification on one's ability to immediately make changes, adjustments, as you were saying earlier. So if I were to notice at 10 o'clock in the morning that my phone calls are down, I have the ability to increase digital marketing in a moment. I mean, obviously, I'd have to make a phone call or
Send
what
an email or whatever.
but there's people involved there, right?
Mhm.
And once you involve people, right, you're hoping that they always follow through. And what happens if that machine isn't well oiled? In other words, the levers that you can pull and you can push aren't necessarily reliable.
Well, I mean, that's part of accountability, right? Like, so if I tell you this needs to be pulled and you don't pull that lever, that's a problem. That's a big problem, and one you should adjust pretty quickly. Like, whether that's adjusting by having a conversation or adjusting, letting someone go. If they tell me they did something and they absolutely did not, and that's a consistent problem, then it solves itself, right? But you know, all of these things both involve people and not, right? I mean, it's very easy to have an email in your back pocket that generates, you got this special offer, you sit on it. Hey, I'm slow today. I send that email. I send a text message campaign, right? And I could send it to 100 people, or I could send it to 1,000, or I could send it to 10,000. Depends how many calls I need. So all these levers, like, you have to build levers into your business for this, for anything to be consistent. Otherwise, you're just waiting for the phone to ring and, praying and hoping the weather comes. And that's not a way to run a business. That's luck. And, I don't want to run off of luck, right?
So the way you make,
yeah, go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, so the way we talk about it here, I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, it makes total sense. Keep daily progress. Where are we at in relation to our goals? Oh, this metric is down. Let's pull the lever that we know will increase that metric. Why do people not do it then? If it can be that simple, what holds people back?
They don't think about it. They just don't consider it. Most people in this industry are HVAC techs or comfort consultants or installers that have grown into position and say, hey, you know what? One day I decided I could do it better than the company I'm working with. And they're not normal business operators, right? They're very good at customer service. They're very good at creating a great experience. They're very good at certain parts of the business. Parts of the business they aren't. And we're all that way. I'm a very much numbers driven guy, and I have an operations background, right? So that's what I shine at. So I pull a lot of numbers. So there's nothing actually holding them back. The only thing that can be holding them back is if you don't have data. If you don't have data, that's a big problem. You need to figure it out. There's lots of solutions that we don't have to dive into getting data, but if you're not keeping track of anything, that's a problem. Outside of that, it's just a decision.
Yeah. Something else I've noticed is some people gauge the health of their business from looking at their bank account.
Yeah.
And it's totally unpredictable reporting. So would you say to any listeners right now, if they're using their bank account as a measure of their success, like, stop?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think everyone knows that. Like, this is not a new concept. Your bank account is not a judge of whether you're making money or not. You don't know what big expenses are coming in. You don't know when money's coming in. That's a very dangerous way to run your business. Mm-hmm. You should always, at the very least, have a P&L, profit and loss, income statement, and it is the same thing, just different names, where you actually understand where the money in your business is going up and down. By the way, you can't cut costs off your bank account. You can't see what you're spending money off on your bank account, at least not effectively, right? You can't drive numbers off your bank account because there's no transparency of where that money's coming in and coming out. So yeah, you at the very least need a P&L.
Question.
I think another.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, and I'll ask you your question then.
I think another piece of this too is like, so the DP report is one example of reports, and a lot of companies have a bad habit of only reporting certain sections of their business. And every section of your business, I believe every department in your business and every team member should have some form of tracking, accountability, and incentive structure directly tied to them. So I don't know if you guys have comments on that, thoughts. I feel like I'm talking the whole time.
One thing that I noticed with that particular point, because we've been coaching CSRs for like 12 years, and we're constantly asked the question from people, do you see people incentivize your CSRs? And if so, how should we do it? And it's tricky because for us, we can't influence how they or what they track or how they track it in their business, right? And tell them, oh yeah, here's how you should incentivize your CSRs.
Why not? Why can't you?
So I guess where I'm going with this question is,
why can't you?
I guess I don't know. I guess I
wouldn't
know what to say to them. Like a percentage of the calls that they book, a percentage of the maintenance agreements they sell. I don't know what they.
Yeah, I mean, percentages are rough. A lot of people do percentages. I don't like percentages because I think if you're going to incentivize someone, it has to be obvious and clear what they're making. So if a percentage of stuff that they do, you have to wait till the back end. And it's weeks, maybe weeks later before they realize how much money they made or didn't make. But spiffing them, absolutely. I would your CSR department should be a sales branch. It is a revenue generating department. It is not a cost if you set it up properly. And the only way to set it up properly is to get them on the same page and moving the same direction as you. The best way to do that is to pay them. And it's the simplest way. There's other ways. And I know Brigham probably could talk for 4 hours about that. But yeah, you should have. If I were you, Zach, there's no way that people ask that question and I don't have an answer because they won't figure out themselves to the same quality that you could, right? You've seen it across multiple companies. Like there is a way to incentivize, and I could talk about this, but I'm sure Brigham knows, and you do too, the best ways to incentivize them.
I did have a quick question because obviously this is simple to understand. It's a very simple concept. You should be measuring and tracking and making changes on a daily basis.
Yes.
Simple to understand, but for some hard to implement. And I was thinking of, what does it feel like? Well, to a certain extent, it feels somewhat like Greek. I learned Portuguese. It took me a couple years to learn it. And I when I was done, I could speak it really well. In fact, when I look back, I wonder why I had such anxiety over learning another language. It wasn't really that hard. I just had to work really, really hard, right? So the question is for those who have difficulty, say that they are technicians that started their own business, just like you described earlier in this podcast. How do you, without making them feel like idiots, right? How do you motivate them and make it easy for them so that they can actually do what we're suggesting?
One thing there that I just want to speak to, because I've seen how my habit toward loving tracking has evolved. To me, I really didn't like it at the start. I really didn't like it, but I knew the importance of it. And I think that's where most people are at. For me, it's the habit. It's just it's a non-negotiable thing you've just got to do every day. And the more you build a habit, the more non-Greekish it becomes, if that makes sense, And it's when you look at a report first, especially one that's been created for you and you haven't created it yourself, it's okay. And you're it's just something you necessarily don't want to do because it's uncomfortable. You haven't done it. Sometimes looking at your numbers is just uncomfortable, period. But again, back to you can't grow what you can't measure. Number one, that's a good reason to do it. But secondly, the whole Greekish thing becomes far less significant the more you do it. It's just got to become a non-negotiable habit.
A big piece of that too. A big piece of that too is a lot of contractors don't do it because they don't understand the how. Like, okay, I'm supposed to track this, but like what am I supposed to track?
How do I figure out where to get the numbers even from?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's not that it's complicated, because it's not. And the fact is, they could sit there and they could spend an hour or 2 hours and they could figure out all the things they would want to track themselves pretty easily, but they won't do that. So kind of back to what like Zach was saying, if you have companies asking that, like, prepare, like, honest, if you want to know what to track, like exactly what to track for each individual department. When I say each individual department, you need tracking for your accounting department, tracking for your install department. No one freaking tracks their install department. It's unbelievable. You're leaving so much money on the table. Most people track your service department, but not great. They track way too much or way too little. Like, too much information becomes unreadable, right? Too little doesn't tell you the story.
Yeah.
Most people track their salespeople, but not consistently, which is crazy too, because it's such an easy thing to track. Your marketing, every piece of your business needs tracking, accountability, incentive-based structures around it, right? What's success? What's not success? What's goals? You can't just say, hey, my average ticket's $200. What's your average ticket supposed to be, right? You have to put a goal next to it for it to be effective tracking. Otherwise, any numbers without goal, any number is good, right? So to kind of your point, Brigham, like, honestly, I could teach you exactly how to pull all this stuff, and I could teach you exactly the thought process, but to make sure you actually do it, I'd rather just give it to you. So if you email Laura, it's just Laura@growwithclover.com. We'll send you a whole bunch of reports. They're in Excel, so you don't have to be fancy. You could use any CRM or field management system. You could be on ServiceTitan, you could be on SuccessWare, you could be on Field Edge, you could be whatever. And you're going to just plug in these numbers, and it's going to tell you literally everything you want to know about your entire business. And you'll see holes that you never knew existed, that you're just leaking money out of.
What people can do is, when you're putting your data into these reports, and if you have a question, just send us a video back, and we can see what you're doing and what you're not doing, and we can just shoot you another video back and kind of coach you accordingly.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
A little cheat there, guys. I don't know if everybody, me and Laura use them like crazy, but there's a free app and extension, Chrome extension called Loom, Loom. It records your screen, and it can record your face, and it generates an instantaneous link. Makes making videos so easy.
Yeah. So just Google Google extensions, and then there's a little store, and then just pop in Loom, and it just sits there at the top of your Google Chrome. Game changer. You cannot just use that to just like send stuff back and forth to us or whoever, but like that's how you create SOPs. When you're creating SOPs, don't just explain stuff in writing, have a video that elaborates further on what you're talking about, because then there's utter transparency. If they don't like how you wrote it, you could show them in the video, or they get how you wrote it, but it just makes something a little bit more clear. Yeah, Loom is a game changer. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh.
Yeah, for SOPs especially, like now, like you want to, like Brigham preaches this all the time, right? Like you kind of customize for each team member, because some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners. So you hit them, right? What's the difference? Hey, you make a written SOP and a video, you've hit both visual, audio, and the reading learner all at the same time, and it's no additional work. So just a little hack in there. Enjoy.
You know, when you start tracking too, which I think is super cool, you actually feel like there's less anxiousness around your business growing, because you actually feel like you can control it, because you know what's happening. And back to the levers, and Brigham, you asked the question, how do you know like what to pull, and how do you know what levers are effective? You can clearly see, you can track it, and then you can clearly see what levers aren't working. And then that marketing department who are not getting you results, or you're not sure, are they getting you results, or is your SEO actually, are you getting a return? This becomes very flippant transparent. So you lose that like anxious feeling of like, okay, I'm putting my market money here, am I getting results, or is this a reliable lever? All becomes super clear, and not being out in the dark and knowing where you stand. Oh my gosh, it just makes business so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, so many like companies, a well-built company is predictable. If I spend this much money, I should get this many calls. I know my average ticket is this much. I'm going to turn on average this many leads, right? I know if I spend this much money, here's the return I get. That's when business gets exciting, when it becomes predictable. Hey, my call volume is down. I could send this email, this text message to 1,000 people, and it will fill my board for 2 days. That's super predictable. I've done this 20 times before. I know exactly what's going to happen. By the way, I know exactly how much revenue is generated off a text message versus a market lead. And like it seems complicated, but like ask Laura for the reports. They're not complicated. They're really easy and they're really obvious. A key to a report too, I want to touch base on, Ryan. There's a few things that make a good report, and I kind of shared with you guys what that is. You can't track too little. You can't track too much. But one of the most important things I think it is it has to be incredibly simple and clear. Meaning, I think any report that I have to teach you how to read is a failed report. I could give you, without a doubt, I could send our internal reporting for Clover Marketing and for Parker & Sons to Brigham and to Zach, and they have no idea how our business, I mean, they have an idea, but not really on how it works. And there would be zero questions. And not only would they see that, they'd be like, oh crap, this is bad right now because you're way above what it should be, or you're way below goal on this. Like, oh, I could see where you guys need improvement. By the way, we can too.
Something else that's cool is when you get these reports, if you're not hitting a goal, they like the red, it goes red and it stares at you, and genie mac, it's annoying. And you just want to do everything you can to get it green. It's
cool.
You know, the reason I really want you guys to email me is this one thing that it's that one thing that can change. It's like, I don't know how you read the book it's called The One Thing. It's like, what's the one thing that if I do right, it can change it can change like 80%. It can change almost everything else. That's reporting, in my opinion. And I don't know, I am sure Josh agrees. I'm not sure, but
reporting and accountability. So you have to have an accountability side, meaning two things. Number one, there has to be goals with each thing that you report, right? So, hey, I generate 100,000 revenue. Awesome. What were you supposed to generate? Because without that side of it, it becomes very useless. And number two, accountability. If I'm not hitting that revenue goal, number one, like who reacts to that? And who's in charge of making sure that we do hit that revenue goal? Who's pulling those levers? Because if there's no levers being pulled, then it really doesn't matter either, right? Like now we're just monitoring. Reporting is not meant for monitoring. It's meant for decision making. And to be clear, no report's foolproof, and no lever is perfect every time. But what you can't do is not react at all, because then you are guaranteed to not get the numbers that you want, right? I'd rather you sprint the other direction and have tracking and reporting on it and know it's the wrong direction than you not doing anything at all.
do you reckon there's a correlate between companies who don't track, as a result they don't know when to pull levers, with the contractors who at non-summer months are panicking because they have no calls, which if they've reporting directly toward their levers, they can pull them and maybe enhance what they do in them during the non-hot months?
They have the companies that don't have reporting in general, don't have plans, in general don't have budgets. You're limited. Most smaller contractors don't do any of this. And it's not like, I'm some amazing operator, or Paul, or, all the big shops. The difference is the accountability and reporting. And once you have that accountability reporting, if you're constantly testing and changing things and coming up with new ideas based off the results you're seeing, it's just a matter of time before you are successful. It's inevitable. What happens for most small contractors, their growth gets stagnant and gets limited by their influence and their leadership ability. When you have solid reporting and accountability, that leadership ability becomes transferable to other team members, and you instantaneously have a larger potential.
Your influence is increased because of the knowledge that you've got. So
Right.
I have a quick side note. is that daily report that you guys use something you can send to Zach and I so that we can look at it and understand it?
I actually, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and do that. And then in the meantime, I think it's really, really interesting that if we're tracking and we're looking at that tracking on a regular basis, what it does is it makes us focus in on what needs to be fixed. And you're right, it may bug you, right? You may not necessarily have all the levers right now, but the more you focus on it, the more you think about it, your brain will find solutions.
Absolutely.
There's a science behind it. If you focus enough on it, you'll come to a solution. The problem is that you get so distracted.
Absolutely.
The day that you don't focus on it, and therefore you don't come up with solutions. So step one has to be tracking. You've got to find a way to daily track everything, and then after that, it just creates good problems for you. You're like, okay, shoot, I need more phone calls, or I need to increase my margin, or I need to increase my average ticket, or I need to. But if you're constantly focused on that, you give yourself a chance to grow.
Give your chance to hit. Absolutely.
We just speaking with another contractor, and they have there's a member of their CSR department, and she's killing it. Like, she's killing it, but she's kind of making up her own rules, but she's killing it. And there's no, it's like this one's just doing her own thing altogether, but she's getting the results. And honestly, you can't argue with results. So she might be doing it, but what she's really doing is she's recreating a process that actually works even better. And how empowering is that? She goes from being a person who is kind of not following the rules and disobeying to, geez, this girl's an all-star, and she's figured out a better way because her results show it. So it also allows you to figure out better ways of doing things.
Allows you to be more fair to people, because
numbers
if you weren't tracking, you think she's a bad employee.
Yeah,
you are tracking.
You can't argue with those numbers. It's like, geez, this one's good. Whatever she's doing, it's working. Let's SOP this,
And without freedom to fail, there is no innovation, right? So giving that person and then holding her accountable for her own results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I tell this all the time. I consult with people, right? And some owners, right, they want their hands in everything, and they want everything run by them. It's like you have a department head for a reason, right? You track the numbers, and she comes to you, or he comes to you with ideas. That's their job. And ultimately, that service manager, that install manager, that sales manager, they're in charge of their numbers and their reporting and their accountability, right? If their numbers are constantly improving, then I don't care if it's not done necessarily exactly your way. Like, you'll find out your way by giving them that freedom to fail. And what you did yesterday may not be the best way of doing things. And let them have that freedom to make those mistakes or make that growth. Right.
So this is an idea I thought of just because it was related to the scenario the example I've just given you. Kind of unrelated to reporting, but similar to related to the scenario, and I think it's cool and something that I'd like Josh to touch on. Making something someone else's idea. That's just a little powerful, actionable. Go ahead, share it real quick.
That's totally outside of reporting, but we could do that because you already brought it up.
Just do it real quick.
So Brigham, I'm going to target you specifically here. Everybody knows, what's the best way to get someone to do something?
Well, to a certain extent, Laura already gave the answer.
Let's make it their idea, right?
Exactly, make it their idea, of course.
But there's a problem with making their own idea. It's very difficult, time-consuming. It's a hard process to make it someone's idea, right? What if I told you I had a shortcut?
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
And I'm going to be clear on this. Everyone's going to hear it. And Laura knows this to a T. I know this to a T. Paul does this. I'll do this to you. And I probably have done this to you, Brigham. And even though you know it's coming, it still works. It's frustrating. But the secret...
You got me thinking, that's for sure. I'm scanning my memory banks to... when was I manipulated here?
So the secret to making making something their idea is just to give credit for it up front. Give credit up front with enough time in between. So what I mean by that is you'll find like I do a lot of the same cadences, right? But I'll say, hey, Brigham, I was up late last night and I was thinking about how to make this podcast really amazing. And I remember you told me, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, but you told me the best way to do it is deliver a ton of value. And a good way to deliver a ton of value is just to give away documents and processes. And I was thinking about that. And you know what, Brigham? You're right. I think you're right. I think we should go ahead, give away a bunch of documents and processes and ideas and that tracking and reporting that we were doing in our business. Why don't we give that away?
You know what? I had a bunch of documents I was just thinking about what you were saying. It was crazy. It just dawned on me. It was like lightning.
See, it's so powerful.
I had some really great documents to give. In fact, I've got document A and document B and document C. You know, I could probably send them to you right now.
Oh, yeah, see?
So
powerful
here's what
stuff.
happens, right? Now, the stronger the ego, the more effective this is, right? So the
Yeah.
stronger person's ego,
Yeah,
by far.
it's
Some
so
people
funny.
they're like, God damn right I said that.
Yeah, it's so funny. When you use it, you're like internally be like, yes, got them.
Yeah, but
So
so
you-
here's what happens, right?
If
If you put enough time in between, you can't be like, you said this yesterday, and it can't be something that like they're inherently against, right? It has to be a potential that's something they said, right? But no matter what, they didn't say that, right? But you'll instantaneously start thinking in your head like, maybe I said that. Like that sounds like a smart idea. And it's really hard to argue with yourself because I've already told you that was your idea, and I'm giving you credit. So people that like would be on the fence and you'd have to talk them into it, all of a sudden be like, no, yeah, that's a great idea. I know.
You know, speaking of, it's hilarious and a great idea. But
It's the worst, by the way, and Laura can attest to this, when you do it to someone or it gets done to you by someone you know, because then you're always like, I know what she's doing. I know this cadence, but it does seem like something I would say.
it's so funny.
I think you might be right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brigham, you said something. Oh yeah, you used the word manipulation. So this is something when you, in my opinion, when the word manipulation is put out there, it comes with a negative connotation. I was recently conducting the playbook with a jam session. Interviewer we had on. His name is Mark Stone, and he said manipulation is in the heart of the beholder, and it basically means like if your intentions are good, manipulation's okay. It's like if you have a good intention that it's actually better for them, manipulation's okay. But
I prefer influence though.
But
yes.
correct. No, correct. Influence is kind of a more positive way of saying manipulation, but they are the same thing.
Yes.
So again, it's just important that when you have these tools and you know how to manipulate, that you're doing it with it's you're doing it with like a rightful heart. Because I feel like
Your intent has to be clear.
correct. If your intentions are clear, that's good. That's cool. But again, that's I think that's just important to put out there.
Sure.
Manipulation's fine once the intention's pure. I think we're out of time, guys. I think that was a pretty solid.
I think Brigham went to butt in with one.
Go.
Yeah, Brigham
amazing,
had one
brilliant comment.
Oh yeah. Well, this is gonna blow our minds, so I'm ready.
I recall Brigham having something genius he wanted to say to end
Yeah,
this
we
podcast.
can't. Wait, now you're under pressure, Brigham. Pressure's on.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it back. The benefit of having a nurse in the room, even if that person happens to be your sister
Or Josh.
or Josh, looking at those stats on a regular basis and being able to make quick adjustments to maintain the health of your organization, and that's what this is all about. A lot of great ideas in between, but in the meantime, if you're not tracking, we've just made it incredibly easy. In fact, Josh and Laura are going to send it to you. So take advantage of that, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.
Thank you, guys. I hope you loved it just as much as we loved recording it.
Thank you for listening to Lip Service for Contractors. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave us a review in the App Store and don't forget to share with your friends. Ideas are cheap. Implementation is what separates the winners from the watchers. Go out and implement these ideas. See you on the next episode of Lip Service for Contractors.